Fiction is full of women who are unkind, manipulative, or cruel. I was bullied by girls as a child, so I know firsthand that women can be harsh to one another. Psychologists often describe this as relational bullying, behavior that's social and psychological rather than physical. It's particularly common among girls. One explanation offered by researchers is evolutionary. Women often compete socially for status, attention, and relationships. On average, women are more group-oriented than men, which means inclusion and exclusion become powerful tools. Female groups can be close-knit, but they can also be cliquey. The film Mean Girls captures this dynamic well. It shows how social manipulation, such as gossip, humiliation, and ostracism, can be used to dominate others. Regina George has become an iconic representation of this behavior. One of my favorite novels is Only Ever Yours by Louise O'Neill. Although she approaches the book from a feminist perspective, the book resonates with me because of how accurately it portrays female social hierarchies and cruelty. It's uncomfortable, but recognizable. There are many examples of morally dark women in fiction. Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind is a classic example. She's intelligent, resourceful, and deeply manipulative, particularly in her relationship with Red Butler. Scarlett isn't powerless or oppressed. She has strong agency and is often destructive. I see her as a precursor to modern female antagonists like Amy Dunne, Cersei Lannister, and Wilhelmina Slater. This theme is something I explore in my novel Tic-Tac-Toe, which depicts a dystopian society where men are second-class citizens. If that sounds interesting, you can check out the trailer in the cards or in the description. We even see some of these themes in mythology. In some versions of the myth of Orpheus, he is killed by Maenads, i.e. female followers of Dionysus. And Circe, the Greek sorceress, is a classic femme fatale who transforms men into animals. So given all of this, why do we often assume women are inherently innocent? Despite plenty of counterexamples, women have long been viewed as more morally virtuous than men. This idea doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Women, like men, are capable of manipulation, self-interest, and cruelty. Modern gender politics can sometimes reinforce this imbalance by framing women as default victims and men as default aggressors. This dynamic can be used to shame, silence, or socially punish others. There is also a recognized psychological phenomenon behind this perception, the women are wonderful effect. Research shows that people tend to associate women with more positive traits than men, often unconsciously. One reason may be early childhood attachment. Our first caregiver is usually our mother, whom we associate with warmth, safety, and care. Men, by contrast, are often associated with risk, authority, and discipline. Religion reinforced these ideas as well. Christianity promoted ideals of feminine purity and modesty, framing women as something to be protected. This cultural mindset fed into practices like women and children first, famously associated with the Birkenhead drill. Much of this also ties back to biology. Women bear children, are physically smaller on average, and historically required protection during pregnancy and child-rearing. Historically, men were expected to behave chivalrously towards women. Even after divorce, men were often legally required to financially support their former wives. Under coverture, husbands were responsible for their wives' debts, and failure to pay could result in imprisonment. Coverture is often described solely as female oppression, but it also imposed serious obligations on men. Husbands were legally and financially responsible for their families. Male duty, sacrifice, and accountability were central expectations. The idea that men have always been inherent oppressors ignores this context. Acknowledging male obligation doesn't deny real cases of male wrongdoing, but it challenges the simplistic narrative that women are morally superior and men morally deficient. Men were expected to protect, provide, and in many cases die for their families or their country. Women were expected to nurture and preserve life. These roles came with costs for both sexes. Women are not inherently virtuous. Men are not inherently villainous. Both are capable of good and bad behavior. There is toxic masculinity and toxic femininity. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more content.